exciting this is to come to this day where we're recording our first podcast for Realize It Africa. And this movement was inspired by the notion of the emergence of Africa as a talent hub, as a place where people are coming um, to engage with the talented people on the continent. And so realize it, if you think about the word realize it, it has four different definitions. So the first definition, the first step of realizing something is to become fully aware. So part of what we're doing here is bringing those discussions, those topics, those things that we want to bring into our awareness so people can start to dialogue and examine and think through where they are on that particular topic. And then once you've come to that full awareness, then you can start to cause something to happen. That's the second definition of realize it. You can start to cause it to happen. And then the third definition is you manifest that. It comes out into the reality. And then once it's in reality, how do we benefit from it? How do we profit from it? The fourth definition is about benefit or profit for the word realize. So realize that Africa is really about all of those things. How do we realize our full potential as a people, as a continent? I'm Dr. Anna Amani. I'm Ugandan by birth. I left Uganda when I was 8. I grew up in the diaspora in Los Angeles, California, to be specific. I got educated there. I have my master's degree in public health. I have my PhD in international development. So really my heart has been about how do we be that spark or that catalyst for the development on the continent. And I'm going to let Alex introduce himself.
Okay, I mean it's kind of tough to to go after Dr. Anna. I mean, she's absolutely amazing, and she has a really brilliant track record in all the work that she has done across the world. But anyway, I'm Alex Businje, and I'm a communication specialist. And but in this capacity, I'm going to be joining Dr. Anna in talking about Africa, and all the things that we have to do to realize our potential as Africans, and to talk about some of the things that are in the way of us realizing our true potential. We have been drawing the short, is it the
The
short,
short, yeah,
the short
right,
straw
right.
for decades. So it's really for centuries, and it's really time for us to realize who we are and rise to the occasion of what we can be.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
I'm just glad that I have Dr. Anna with me here right now to have these conversations about the continent, to dive deeper, just to talk about what's really in the way,
Yes.
what's really in the way, and who are we. And we're just talking about one of our colleagues who's on the other side of the camera, who is a Hollywood talent videographer. But being on the continent, that is something that it has been a little bit less than, or a little more. How do I describe it? Frustrating is the word that I can come up with right now. And how do we realize our talent?
Yes. How do we create those opportunities? How do we have a space for us to have these discussions, for people to be inspired? There's so much movement and people working to realize their potential, but how do we create that space
Yeah.
that nurtures that brings us to a point where we are thriving? And some of the things that we talk about, some of the things that we want to think about in this conversation are the colonial narrative that we've all been operating under. How has that impacted our psyche? How do we start to unravel that and move forward? Right? There's an Akan word called Sankofa, which is part of the Adinkra symbols, which propagate knowledge. And that particular symbol talks about it's okay to go back and get what is useful. So, how does Africa go back and get what is useful from our own heritage? Because part of what the colonial narrative did is to really just discard all things African,
I mean,
being
yeah,
subject. Yeah.
the first thing they did is to come out here and delete our history.
Yes.
And one of the things that frustrates me most is every time I travel or go to any other country, and I see some kind of monument or anything that shows that 200 years ago this is what we did,
Right.
and 400 years ago this is what we did, and it's really difficult to reconcile that with my own story, because our story seems to begin from our colonialism.
Right.
Before those 200 years, it's hard for us to determine what was there or what was happening. You're right in when you say that being rooted in that colonial establishment, with our history being rooted in that colonial establishment, it's hard for us to see a way forward, especially when we go back and we don't see anything other than what what the white man told us, that this is what was there. So I mean, Dr. Anna, you have definitely looked into this topic. Um, you've researched it. You have studied it. What do you think we can do to kind of remedy what has already been done?
Yeah, I think the first step, which we're doing now, is to really just bring that out into the dialogue. If you think about here in our East Africa region, we have the whole debate around the source of the Nile. Where is the source of the Nile? If you Google this, you could, go on.
It's in
Or
Uganda,
do
by
you-
the way,
For the purposes of this podcast.
not in Rwanda. Yeah, not in Tanzania,
But
Uganda.
the reason there is that debate is because there were explorers who wanted to be the ones who discovered the source of the Nile. But you actually cannot discover something when there are people already there. So if you're finding people there who are taking you to the source of the Nile, you cannot have discovered it. But that's the narrative that has been
And
put
we
in
still
place.
celebrate these individuals up to today. We're like, he discovered Lake Victoria, but
Yes.
what
Yes.
about all the people who are on Lake Victoria? Like, what were they doing?
For hundreds of years prior to him discovering
So it's
the
pretty
source
much
of
like
the
someone
Nile.
came and told us, hey, who comes to your living room and is like, there's a couch.
Right.
It's a couch.
And you're like, yeah, we've been using it for some time.
I discovered a couch in your house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so yeah, it's and why are we not really? Why is it so hard for us to all come together and say that's what happened, and we need to change that?
We're laughing about it, but actually, I teach this topic, as you know. And many people are so tied into the idea that a European explorer needed to validate our knowledge. And I would say that's part of what we need to dispel. Our knowledge does not need validating. It is valid, and it's foundational to who we are here in this region. And so it's really bringing those voices forward, because there are people there. Even today, when you go to those places, you go and speak to the indigenous leaders, and they will tell you. They will tell you the story of that region, who was there, who did what. That's the piece that is really missing to bring us forward to where we need to be, to understand that we didn't need a European explorer to come and tell us where the source of the Nile was. We already knew where it was.
And you can break it down to like a molecular level, like on our own selves. Like, do you feel like even now we still need that validation? when we talk about our businesses and our services, and we've um, we've seen many cases of a product that may be created right here on the continent, but if there is an alternative from Europe or the US, then it's considered better.
Right.
Do we still feel like that that is something that still governs us up to today, that we need that validation? We need our products and services to be validated by the West or the global North for us to take it seriously.
For sure, I think so. But also, because of globalization and having so much access to knowledge, people are actually going back to the indigenous knowledge and bringing that forward, and perhaps profiting more than we have from that particular knowledge or way of doing or way of being. I think we can think about this is something I thought about as I was going between the US and California. In California, they have what's called grow your own food movement, which is, sustainable and the best way to live, and yet
GMO free.
yeah, and yet here in Uganda, where a majority of the population
Grows own food.
grows their own food,
It-
they're being encouraged the other way, right? Because there's this idea that development is linear, and we're moving on this line from this subsistence farmer to this commercial farming, but we know that commercial farming is largely disastrous as it is being done currently with the insecticides and genetic modification and all of those things. We're discovering that that's not our body doesn't actually want that, doesn't thrive on that. And so people are reversing that in California by going to the grow your own food movement. And so I'm like, why are we being taught to go away from this idea of growing our own food, and yet people who are California is probably one of the richest, most developed areas on the planet on that linear path of development. But how do we capitalize or take advantage of where we are now, and perhaps not having gone to the level of environmental degradation that we are seeing in the more developed parts of the world? How do we change the development narrative so that it fits around the life that we have reason to value, the life that we have knowledge of, the life that has sustained us
But
thus far?
it's interesting that we talk about this. I realize that while there's a push for commercialization, heavy commercialization, when it comes to locally we call it the move from subsistence farming, basically commercial.
Right.
While that has been a movement, while there's been a movement encouraging that for decades, there's been we have been reluctant as a population to do so. We still do on a larger scale. Uganda being what it is, like we are potentially the bread the food basket for the entire Africa, but we haven't really tapped into that because for a variety of reasons. But I think at the end of it is just being reluctant to do so. Like this is working for us. I mean, leave alone the city, but to go in the villages and you find someone has been living like this, his grandparents were living like that, and they're not really like motivated to do all these things that will change their outcomes or their livelihoods, and that's what we tell them. And there's this in fact there's this proverb. I don't know if it's a proverb, but it's a story that kind of highlights that, where there's this guy from a business school that goes to this fishing village, and he tells this fisherman that, hey, why don't you gather the rest of your friends start fishing as a group, and then create a company, start fishing as a group, and then selling as a group. And then the fisherman is like, okay, that sounds interesting. And then what?
Right.
And then the businessman is like, well, you will make more money, and because you have all this all this fish, will have more fish that you're selling, and then you buy more boats, and then you invite even you hire other people, and you will eventually make more money. And then this fisherman is like, yeah, that sounds good. And then what?
And then what? Yeah.
and then the businessman is like, well, and then you will enjoy all these profits, and sit at home, and with your friends and your family, and just enjoy yourselves. And the fisherman looks at him and says, well, isn't that what I'm doing
I
now?
do that now. Yeah.
You know,
I'm already doing
so
that.
I'm already
yeah.
doing that. So
Yeah.
why go through all these things,
Steps.
all these
Yes.
steps, just to arrive at where I already am? So that reluctance to do so, to get into commercialization, has been criticized a lot. It has been looked at as backward. It has been looked at as laziness. So we've demonized it in a way.
Right.
But would you say, especially because you come from a background of where you have worked in food, I don't know, in the development work, you've done development work that encourages more like sustainable, I would say,
Agriculture. Yes.
sustainable agriculture. What do you have to say about that now, that those two that reality where you have a reluctant population, and you have a big push from the rest of the world saying, hey, you need to commercialize, and then you have, of course, like you've already shared with us, California, people in California are going back to what we are being told is lazy and backward.
To go away from.
Yeah. So what do you make?
Yeah. I want to change the word reluctant to the word resilient, because despite all the narrative and effort and just massive push to erase and degrade and really do away with our way of life, Africans have been resilient. And even if you think about the enslaved Africans, they're able to carry over some of the African traditions through all of those years of oppression. So I think the life for Africa is that our culture has been resilient, and it stands. And it's shifting the mindset to center our way of doing, our way of being, to fit the model of development that is effective for us. We don't need to follow this path that has been set as a narrative. And I think what we lose in having set that path as a global community is all of those other paths that could have been followed, that could have been, because if you think about, if I think about my upbringing in rural Africa, Western Uganda, the person has their household and they have their household farm where they grow most of their basics, but then they also have perhaps extras that then they trade with each other. And so instead of thinking about, no, we need to do away with most of these farmers, we can think about how do we make that a more effective way of sustaining all of us. How do we, because now we're trying to think about how do we adapt subsistence farming to this model, this set model, but we need to actually be thinking about it the other way. How do we adapt the model to our way of being, and not an unexamined way of being? There are things that we definitely want to let go of as a culture, as a group, as a country. But we need to be able to examine those elements and decide, we're moving this forward. We're setting this in motion. So we know that the idea of growing your own food in a sustainable way would be much better for all of us if the planet adapted that approach. So since 80% of us are already doing that, why are we let's not go away from it. Let's figure out how to adapt development to that approach. And I think it's just starting to think about how do we innovate, how do we streamline, how do we make it more effective.
Okay, that's perfect. And allow me to take you away from this conversation and into something that's similar. Going back to Africans realizing our potential. We have, particularly in Uganda, we have one of the youngest populations in the world. Um, there's a massive generational divide. And it sometimes feels like, I mean, we keep on hearing this from, we keep on hearing this on from mainstream media, from different pockets of social media, and also the different conversations that it seems like we are speaking a different language from Gen Z people. They are Gen Z population. We are not connected. The millennials are in their own world, and then the boomers are definitely living in a different world, and they're looking at us and some type of way, and we are looking at the Gen Z population some type of way. So how do we leverage what we know in terms of trying to bring the younger populations up to speed with combating the African one narrative and getting them to believe in themselves and in each other, and for us to want to build a recipe to overcome all the generational misinformation that have been imposed on Africans. And how do we work together as as all generations to make sure that our younger populations are in the loop, and so that we can even move into start looking at a brighter future than what we're seeing now.
So yeah, first of all, I want to solidly represent Gen X. You like us out as usual. And I think you're a millennial.
Then who?
Yeah, I want to solidly represent Gen X. Thank you very much. But I also think part of what we're talking about in shifting our mindset is they're approaching life in a totally different way. They have so much more information. They have so much more access. I mean, I think when I was born, you follow what your parents set for you. If you come from a Christian household, then you're a Christian, and you didn't really get access to anything else until you were perhaps, if you had the opportunity to travel and be exposed to other things. But I think young people now, they're getting all of that information. So first of all, the shift in approaching how we educate, right? Because it used to be, we have this knowledge, it's here in a textbook, and we're passing it on. But now, practically by the time the textbook is printed, that information is continuously being updated. So it's rethinking some of how we're educating people, how we're making space for young voices to speak into what's next, right? Because their way of being is much closer to the technology and the information. What would we have been like if we had all this access to the technology and to the information? What can come from that? So I think it's also thinking about not necessarily how do we, as maybe Gen X or Boomers or Millennials, top down approach, but more how do we tap into what is next in terms of how people are engaging with the global community. There's so much more access now. I think it's really starting to rethink that and shift and look for opportunities. And I think we see like in Kenya where they have the Silicon Savannah. We see Nollywood from Nigeria. I mean, we're seeing Amapiano take the world stage, and I think when we make space for young Africans to express themselves and realize their creativity, to act on their knowledge, will move much further along. So it's really opening up those spaces so young people can have the opportunity.
Again, this is our first episode for Realize in Africa, but we have a lot coming, and we're going to be discussing various issues that, from empowerment to some of these bottlenecks that need to be addressed. And I'm excited for the journey. Dr. Anna, maybe you can add to it while we come to the close of this episode.
Yes. I want to add to that. And there's quite a bit of talk about empowerment. But in this podcast, I want us to rethink the notion of empowerment. And it talks about, it implies an exchange of power. And that's not really what we want to do. We want to create space so people can reclaim that, what is already theirs. We're saying you were already, created in that full potential. It's perhaps the environment that you have been in that has become a barrier or taken that away from you. How do we make space so you can...
You are already powered.
You're already powered.
You don't need to be.
You don't need to be empowered.
Yeah, you just have to remove that, to acknowledge it.
Yes.
And
yes. How do you move in your full power?
And then
How do we move in your full power rather than waiting for someone to empower you? And I really there's a lot of that kind of rubs me the wrong way in terms of how development uses that particular word to empower, and you hear it a lot. But I really want people to start thinking about how they move fully in their own power, because it's already here. It's already here.
It's an interesting thing that you bring up.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone recently, and we talk about how we have a special gift, a special talent as a community, many times, society, of devaluing ourselves.
Right?
Yeah, we are really good at devaluing ourselves and devaluing those around us. Yeah. So if someone came and told you that they're empowering you, you may pay for that. You may pay
That's
for
the narrative.
a class that empowers you, right?
Yeah.
But you already have a power. You're born with it.
It's here.
Your body
It's here.
It's in you.
Yes.
And you just have to know how to combat.
Yes.
How to combat it. And it starts with, I guess, unlearning, or
Yes. Those things that we're
things
working
that
on now.
you have that you were taught that gave you the idea that you're less than. So wow, I love that. Right? And that's something that I'm going to definitely take with me and
Yes.
be thinking about this whole week. So
Yes.
once again, thank you, Dr. Anna.
Yes. And this has been our first podcast. I'm Dr. Anna Amani with Alex Wasinje, and we're here to journey with you as we realize it and evolve.
And please like and follow for more updates, and we're going to be sharing more content over the next we're going to be doing this for as long as we can.
Yes.
There is really no end in sight for us. But thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. So don't forget to hit the like button and the follow, subscribe, and we'll be in touch.